So I just got back from a Rev War event this past weekend, and all things considered, it was a pretty modest little event. There weren't too many reenactors there, but there was quite a bit of public, and they were interacting with us, and they were asking us all sorts of really insightful questions. But there was one particular question that actually stood out to me because it's one that I've been asked many times in the past, and in fact, if you're a Redcoat reenactor as well, you've probably been asked the very same question. In fact, if you haven't been asked this question, I will eat my shoe. And that question, of course, is why? Why do British? Why reenact a Redcoat when you're so clearly an American? And I'm sure that plenty of people kind of have their own little theories as to why I do this. Some people probably think I'm secretly a monarchist, or that I think American independence was a mistake, or something along those lines. But no, at least in my case, it's nothing nearly so controversial or dramatic. Really, for me, the fact is, I joined the Redcoats because I announced that I was looking for a unit to join, and it just so happened that the British got to me first. Generally speaking, there are far fewer British reenacting groups out there than there are American groups. And so, just by nature of that simple fact, the British tend to be a lot more proactive in their recruiting measures than the Americans. And that's sort of always been the case, even back as far as the bicentennial. Every single town in New England had their own little militia group. A lot of those groups are still kicking to this day in some form or another. And so basically what that does is it makes it so that for American groups, each one just kind of comes with their own little sphere of influence. And since there's so many of them, a lot of them just don't really travel more than, say, 25, 30 miles from their base of operations. Whereas with British groups, we are a lot more spread out. And so by nature of that fact, our spheres of influence are much larger. So when you join a British unit, you actually get to go to a lot more places than you would if you were to join an American unit. So that's one of the benefits of reenacting British that I've found. Being in the 54th, we service not only the Connecticut area, but also Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey. Sometimes we go as far south as Pennsylvania, and even on the odd instance, we've been as far up north as Canada. So it's a great excuse to travel. And also, I just have to say, I think the British just have a lot more fun. Generally speaking, at these events, we are always the aggressors. So, we get to roll in, and we get to knock down fences, we get to smash through barricades, storm redoubts, we get to burn stuff on the odd occasion. Whereas the Americans just kind of have to sit there and wait for us. And also, not to mention, it just opens you up to a completely new historical perspective that otherwise you might not have considered. So, in summary, just portraying a Redcoat has just been a huge eye-opener for me. And I imagine for many other people it's the same way. Anyway, I think that about covers it. Thank you for watching, as usual, and as always, God save the King.